Assalamualaikum and a very pleasant day I bid to our beloved lecturer. We are from Group 2. I am HASYA and my fellow friends AFINA, RIYAN, ALIF and AISYAH will talk about the unemployment happened in Singapore, which is the country that we choose for our presentation. First and foremost, the purpose of this study is to investigate and collect the unemployment data in Singapore. As we all know, all countries will have their own way of unemployment. We choose Singapore to study about their unemployment because Singapore is one of the most highly developed market economy among Asians. The second purpose is to discuss about the related issues regarding the unemployment data within the impact of Corona. Since the whole world are going through this pandemic, we would like to know how Singapore handled these issues regarding COVID-19 as one of the most developed countries. Now we move on to the concept of unemployment. Unemployment occurs when people who are able and willing to work in the working age group cannot find the appropriate job, and it is often used as a measure of the health of the economy. It is more like a key economic indicator because it signals the ability or inability of workers to readily obtain gainful work to contribute to the productive output of the economy. More unemployed workers means less total economic production will take place than might have otherwise. The unemployment rate in Singapore started to fall for the first time in November 2020 when the COVID-19 pandemic occurred. Previously, the overall unemployment rate for Singapore residents and citizens remained unchanged from March at 2.9%, which results about 92,100 residents were unemployed in April, including 82,800 citizens. According to the Manpower Minister Josephine Teo, the economic and job market recovery is likely to be bumpy and uneven, unlike the swift recovery seen during the global financial crisis nor during the SARS period, as the effects of the COVID-19 will be quite long-lasting and not only will impact people's health but even in businesses.
Before we get into the main of discussion, it will be good first for us to know a little bit about Singapore. At the end of June 2020, the population of Singapore stood at 5.69 million. It decreased by 0.3% from 5.7 million in 2019 to 5.69 million this year. But the resident population of Singapore shows 0.4% growth over the previous year. So now let's see the national income of Singapore. In 2020, the gross national income of Singapore amounted 411.8 million Singapore dollar. While GDP, or called as gross domestic product of Singapore, is 469,096 million, and per capita GDP at the current market price is 82,503 million. The real GDP show negative growth as the percentage is negative 5.4%. Next, we go through the main sector economy of Singapore. The sector that contributes the most to Singapore's economy is service producing industry, which represents 70.2%, and followed by good producing industry, which represent 25.5%, and lastly 4.3% is represent to the ownership of dwelling. As we can see from the table, there are manufacturing sector, construction sector, and utilities sector under good producing industry. While in service producing industry, there are sectors such as wholesale trade, retail trade, transportation and storage, food and beverage service, accommodation, information and communication, finance and insurance, real estate, professional service, administrative and support service, and other service industry and other industries and other service industries. And we can see clearly the percentage represented by each of these mini sector through the pie chart provided. Lastly, the national debt of Singapore is amounted around 453.62 billion US dollar.
So now, I will show you the 10 years data on unemployment in Singapore. As you can see from the graph in the poster, on 2020, it was recorded as the highest data on unemployment since 2011 in Singapore.
Now, I will talk about reasons behind the increased unemployment in Singapore. Like what ALIF said just now, in the range between 2011 until 2020, 2020 has been recorded as the highest year of unemployment in Singapore. There are some major factors that manipulate the unemployment in Singapore. Firstly, the pandemic of COVID-19. As we all know, COVID-19 has caused disaster not only to Singapore but to the entire world. Because of the COVID-19, many sectors in a country has to be paused as the virus can be transmitted by humans to humans due to close contact. Singapore's government has taken an initiative which is work from home. All sectors from various businesses and manufacturers has to start online working, and some of them may need to stop working for a while due to cut costs and save budgets of the business. Some of our employees being terminated, and most of the people that searching for a job has a low percentage to get a job. Secondly, workers become unemployed while looking for a better job. People in Singapore seek looking for a new job because the increasing of living standards in Singapore. We as humans always feel to improve ourselves in order to fulfill our desire in our daily life. Many people in Singapore choose to be unemployed while waiting for other jobs to be approved. Next is global rapid technology to change. Singapore is one of the modern countries in the world. Many manufacturers has used modern technology to speed up the production. So, many employees has been replaced by robots to cater their job as it can save time and gain more profits to be manufacturers. Lastly, the increasing of population in a small country. From a geographic side, Singapore is a small country compared to its neighbor country like Malaysia and Indonesia. In the article from channel newsasia.com say population increase in Singapore also being a main factor the increasing of unemployment. Next, I would like to share the policy that related to the increasing of unemployment in Singapore. There are two that we choose, which is cyclical unemployment and structural unemployment. In Singapore, cyclical unemployment has increased since the first quarter of 2016 due to the total demand for domestic goods and services increase slowly relative to the supply of labor in the economy. When the total demand for domestic goods and services grows more slowly than the supply of labor in the economy, the new jobs generated are insufficient to accommodate new entrants into the labor market, resulting in cyclical unemployment. Second, structural unemployment rises when the pace of technological advancement increases. The shift of Singapore's economy from a labor-driven to a productivity-driven economy has accelerated the speed of technology progress in recent years. This is due to the unsustainable nature of Singapore's labor-driven economic growth model, which will result in a growing population in a small land area.
So now, I will tell you the impact of coronavirus to unemployment in Singapore. Singapore unemployment hits 2.9% as COVID slammed workers. Unemployment in Singapore rose to 2.9% in June, according to preliminary quarterly data. Jobless rate in many Asian economies are expected to remain high in the coming months as business struggle in the pandemic.
Singapore's government has announced many stimulus packages to support its economy, which has been severely hit by the coronavirus pandemic. The stimulus packages, which are: the first one is payment deferrals and rate reductions for direct and indirect taxes. Secondly, under employment-related measures, there are job support scheme, enhancements to wage credit scheme, foreign worker levy, Central Provident Fund obligation, Singapore United Jobs and Skills Package, Jobs Growth Incentive, COVID-19 Support Grant, and immigration-related measures. Singapore's government also support for specific sectors such as aviation, tourism, and land transport. Singapore has spent nearly 100 billion Singapore dollars to help businesses and households manage the economic impact of the coronavirus. That's almost 20% of the country's GDP, and expect GDP to shrink by between 4% and 7% in 2020.
Lastly, I will present the conclusion of our presentation. What we get from this topic is the population in Singapore has decreased by the end of June 2020. This can be evident from the graph the population number by year in Singapore, which shows that in 2018, Singapore has 5.64 million residents. In 2019 has 5.7 million residents, and in 2020 has 5.69 million residents. Next is the data shows that the unemployment occurred in Singapore was in 2020, which is as much as 4.38%. Things like this happen due to reasons such as changes of technology, population increase in small country, pandemic, and volunteer unemployed. However, the government has provided policies that can be used to overcome this unemployment. This topic very helpful, especially for students like us, because we can learn about the unemployment happen in Singapore through this investigation. That's all from us. Thank you.